Hey everybody, welcome back to the Cardistry interview series. So today I've got a really special guest. This is Lance Maderal. He's an amazing cardist, and he's someone I look up to a ton in the community, and I'm really excited to have him on the show today. So, Lance, do you want to maybe introduce yourself? Maybe tell us where you're from, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Lance. Just a little correction. It's Maderal.
Oh, okay,
It's
sorry.
it's pro it's yeah, it's okay. A lot of people from America say it that way, so I kind of understand where you all are coming from. I'm Lance Maderal. I'm from the Philippines. I've been doing cardistry for around 5 or 6 years right now. I'm not sure when exactly because I started with magic and then I was like switching between learning cardistry and magic, and then I started creating at around 2016, and that's when I got hooked into cardistry.
So you got started off by doing magic,
Yeah.
and I don't know anything about the community there in the Philippines. So what's the community like there?
When I first started into cardistry, I didn't actually know that many cardists. I think I started meeting people 3 years into cardistry, but now I actually know a lot of cardists. But then it's not like something a lot of people know. But then maybe I can give around 30 or 40 people that I've met through physical jams and stuff like that.
So you'd say the community is pretty big in the Philippines.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty big.
Do you have any local artists that you hang out with?
Yeah, actually, there's this group called Cardipelago. It's a play on words, card archipelago,
Hmm.
because the Philippines is an archipelago, so that's why they named their group that way. They hold like jam sessions every once in a while. They're kind of like Cardvolution.
As far as your style of cardistry, it's really a lot different than any other styles I've seen from people. First of all, you focus on flow more than anything, but you also seem to have this thing where you clip packets in a weird way. Like if I had an example, I know in your entry for the Fontaine Trials, you do something where you clip packets with your
All
pointer
right,
finger
right,
and your
right.
middle finger.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your style?
How would I say this? I think I'd like to describe my style as mechanical. That because I tend to have a lot of things that seem mechanical, rather than as compared to like something Beckett does, where his packets are kind of like his packets are unique, kind of like this cut, which was inspired by him. This one. I'd say my style is very mechanic in a way that here's my biggest example. This is Puzzle Box, right? Where there are a lot of 90-degree angles between the packets. I find creating those kinds of the most interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I've totally worked with that 90-degree angle thing. So you also have a lot of variations on moves. I know you do that mantra variation,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Praying
with
mantra.
a single card. How do you come up with those variations for your moves?
Ever since I've been doing cards, I've been doing a lot of fiddling, and a lot of my moves are I've come up with a lot of my moves that way. Like for example, praying mantra, right?
Hmm.
Uh, I was messing around with mantra, but then I realized I had one extra card, and like one point I just thought of doing the two together, but then it took a little trial and error to get it to that point.
And you also have that running recoil thing. I know
Oh yeah.
on your video Arcadia that was like a huge hit. That is so sick.
Yeah.
So for any of these variations or any of your moves in general, do you ever plan on making tutorials and stuff for it? Because I know a lot of people are interested in that.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking, and I've been planning. With all the issues around the world, I've planned on making a tutorial bundle where all of the profits will go towards like causes here in the Philippines, or maybe even around the world. But I just recently finished my second year in college, so I haven't gotten around to doing those things. That's also one reason why I opened up polls on my Instagram to
Hmm.
like ask people what moves they want to learn from me. Maybe around August or something, if things work out, I'll maybe release a tutorial bundle.
Yeah, that'd be sick, dude. And do you think you'd do it through YouTube, or would you charge? I mean, obviously, if you're donating money, you charge. But do you ever want to try to make a profit off doing that, or no?
If I'd ever want to make a profit, I'd make sure I donate the money. I'm not gonna keep any of it, but maybe I'll make one that's for free.
Yeah, that's sick, dude. I definitely think you should do that at some point. So, being in the Philippines, it's a lot different than it is here because it's pretty cold here. But
Yeah.
I know that humidity totally affects cards.
Yes, definitely.
Do you have any tips on like dealing with warped cards and all that stuff?
Actually, what I do is that I don't use cards. I don't use just one deck. I make sure I rotate between different cards. Like for example, for example, maybe today I'd use this Fontaine guest sticker edition. Then another day I'd use another deck because that way you don't poop up your decks too much. And but aside from that, in general, just USPCC playing cards do really bad in the hot weather. So I try to make sure that I don't overuse them, especially if I like the design of the deck.
Yeah, definitely. And I always see you using the echoes and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Those cards last forever, basically. So
yeah. I find that Taiwanese playing cards handle the humid weather a lot better than USPCC. Like for example, if you open up a USPCC deck in a very hot weather, start shuffling a bit, do some flourishes, like just in that same day, it's going to like poop poop up quite a bit. So yeah, you really have to be careful with playing cards in humid countries.
I don't know. Do you tend to use poop decks more, or do you just use newer decks?
It depends on what flourishes I'm doing. A lot of my moves definitely need poop decks to be done, but recently, especially after the Fontaine Trials ended, I tried making more moves that I can do with newer decks, just because newer decks tend look a lot prettier in videos compared to poop decks.
In the community, since you do know quite a few people, like you were talking about earlier, can you name just some cardists that really inspire you? Like some of your favorite cardists. I'm just curious.
Well, when I first started, definitely my biggest influence was Patrick Varnavas. Back when I started creating was when BCA first started, and then I got so inspired to make my own moves, and then I posted one of my first original flourishes. Here, let me show you. But this was my first BCA feature, and this was back in 2016 or something. Yeah, I think it was in 2016. And that was what got me started continuing to create because Patrick was actually the one who featured that, and then I think a couple of days I posted another move, this one. Called it landslide because of the it there's a lot of sliding motions in it, and that move got featured too. And then I guess that momentum got me really inspired because hey, someone who I really looked up to recognized my work, and then that was it. I just kept going.
So you think that like some of the ways to kind of stay interested is just to keep creating and hoping that something will happen where you'll either get featured or
Yeah, I guess. Actually, someone asked me a similar question like, do you need to create moves to keep doing cardistry or to keep feeling motivated or to make an impact in the community? Do you need to create moves? I think that depends on what impact you want to make. Like there's Silas Busk. He's not really known for his originals, though he has originals. He's more known for his insane flow with some moves. You don't really need to create, but then for me, I find creating very fulfilling, which is why I kept going.
and Silas, he mostly does like just other people's flourishes,
Yeah, aerials,
mostly Tobias,
maybe.
right?
Yeah, Tobias moves.
Yeah, and he still has a huge following. Like I think it's
Yeah.
like 20,000 followers or something crazy.
In addition to that, you don't need to create moves to enjoy cardistry. There are people who enjoy doing it just for the sake of like fidgeting or something. But I think the main purpose of cardistry is creation of moves. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I honestly agree with that a ton. It makes it more fulfilling.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess we can start talking about more of your bigger like projects and competitions, all that kind of stuff that you've been a part of. So recently you did, or last summer you did your solo video Arcadia.
Yeah, with Lotusinhand.
Being with Lotusinhand, how did that make you feel? Because they're pretty big in the community.
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to say this, but Daniel messaged me, I think December of 2018, that he wanted to film a video with me. I was like, wow. I felt suddenly super inspired because I realized that I didn't have a lot of moves. Luckily, we had like 6 months for me to prepare because, we filmed it around June of 2019. I actually had a lot of moves that I finished, and even created during that 6 month period between December and June. So it was pretty wild.
How long did that take to actually shoot the video?
Actually, it took us like 3 days because it was an outdoor shoot. So one of the days the weather didn't agree with us. It rained, and then when the rain stopped, there was no more sun, so we couldn't continue filming. But luckily, we had enough time to film all the moves that made it into the video.
So, did you get flown out to Taiwan to shoot that? Is that how it worked, basically?
Yeah, basically.
Do you think that it was a lot more stressful shooting that video, or was it kind of chill?
Well, it was very chill. Daniel and Curtis were very great people. They were very patient with me because I had trouble performing some of the moves, and some of them didn't end up being in the video. But then they were really nice. There would be times when, if I find it difficult to perform one move, my hands would really shake. So we'd take some breaks, and they were really nice about it. So I'd say even if it was kind of stressful, I still had a lot of fun.
When you were shooting the video, did you feel like the pressure helped you?
I felt the pressure, but then I really enjoy doing cardistry. So that overpowered the pressure that I felt, and I just had fun shooting, even if I had like one bad day where I couldn't nail some of the moves. But aside from that, it was really fun.
So, what were some of your personal favorites from the video?
Well, in that video, Puzzle Box was the move I've had it was Praying Mantra that I've had for the longest time. But then, definitely my favorite would be this one. I'm not sure if I can do it with this deck because this one's relatively new. I can't do it with this deck. That flipping thing. I kind of came up with that on an accident. No, I came up with that just by fidgeting with cards because that was inspired by Matt Fox's concept where I think it was his thumb in this position. Sib uses this too, and then I was like, hey, let's try this, let's try that, and then I came up with that move, and that was like my first aerial move that worked. It was a packet cut with an aerial, which is like me branching out into other branches of cardistry, which was kind of a breakthrough for me personally.
And also, the camera work with that move, it looked insane, dude.
Yeah, they were both really great videographers.
And also, you did that double backdrop thing.
Oh yeah.
How long did that take to film, or to just get the good take of it?
Usually, I can do that double backdrop thing pretty easily, but then on that day, I was kind of off. That was the off day. That was the off day I was talking about earlier. I couldn't nail it, but then shockingly, I'm sure you remember that double triangle thing from the backdrop. I actually had that concept in mind, but what happened was my idea was that it lands on top. Both cards land on top, like this. But then what happened was it landed like here. It wasn't exactly on top. It landed here, right? That was like super lucky.
Yeah, I wondered because, man, that looks so hard.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I've never actually nailed it again. I think we were filming for this slow motion shot, and then I was like, okay, I'll do it, and then it landed there. I was like, in my head, I was like, what just happened? And then Curtis instinctively like pulled away. So we ended up with a really good shot of it.
When I first saw the video, I saw it live at Cardistry.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So did you see the audience's reaction to that?
Yeah, Shiv sent me he filmed the reaction for me.
What did you think of
It
it?
was it was uh it was pretty wild. I was actually very speechless when I watched that video because while these people are reacting to my video and then they like it, so kind of shows that I did my job well. Like I was able to create good stuff, you know. So it was really fulfilling.
I mean, the audience's reaction there was honestly one of the craziest ones for like all of the videos premiered. Yeah, it was just insane. I guess we can start talking about the Fontaine Trials stuff now.
Yeah, yeah.
So you were recently in the Fontaine Trials. If people don't know, which I don't know how you wouldn't, but it's a big competition for like the biggest cardistry competition ever for 10 grand as a prize. Let's talk about your entry. You had a two-handed cut, kind of using that grip that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, that clip.
Yeah, it had a pretty unique closer, I would say.
Oh yeah, actually.
So what were your expectations with that video?
I released that cut in Arcadia too, if you remember. But my Fontaine Trials entry was a different variation. I'd say the final version of it. And I think the the entry I posted for Fontaine Trials, that version made a lot more sense. It was a lot more cohesive. Right now, I don't have a poop deck right now, so I can't really demonstrate it. But basically, in the original version, there were packets in basically in this orientation. Basically here, this I think this was the ending display. But then in the modified version, the packets were more like in a similar plane, like they were all here. In the original version, there were packets that were here, and then there was like one packet that was in a different plane. And I think the modified version just made a lot more sense because packets were just moving in this plane and then flipping like that, like here, here, and stuff like that. And I think that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I agree. So what were your expectations with that cut? Did you have a pretty good feeling you were going to make it?
Actually, I wasn't that confident about it because personally, I think a cut is banger. Like this is like just something small. Uh, Especially if you post a cut on Instagram. For me, a cut is more banger the more comments it has, or maybe like just a little superficial thing I consider. It's kind of a self-esteem thing, I guess. Like more comments, more people like the cut itself, or maybe the more banger it is. But I wasn't expecting much because not a lot of people commented on that video, so I thought not a lot of people liked the cut. But then I was actually very proud of that cut. So I wasn't expecting it. And then the day of the announcement came, and my name was there. I was like, let's go.
That's got to feel amazing, dude.
Yeah, actually, I was convinced that I was just going to wait for the next big competition and like keep all of my moves, but of course I'd still be active in the community. And then that happened.
I guess we can say that the style of the competition is way different. The first round is 30 seconds, which is just super short. So did you like that style?
Me personally, as someone who has packet cuts that are like 10 seconds long, it was very challenging for me because I had to find my cuts which focus more on moments. Because most of my it felt wrong to just post like moments of a cut, like for example this cut. This cut was supposed to be in the video. Hold on, because it has like a wild preparation but then a bomb closer.
Yeah.
It felt wrong to just put that last cut, that last part, like just the closer, like maybe from here. It feels so wrong to just put this in the video. So it was very challenging for me. I actually had to come up with that first combo, the combo with Falling Nebula and that other one-handed cut. I had to come up with that on the fly because I just felt like this is something I could put into it. So that round was very challenging for me because 30 seconds. What can you put in?
What about the tripod only rule? Did you like that?
I don't mind that. Yeah, especially because there's a quarantine here in the Philippines, so I couldn't really meet out with my friends to ask them to help me film. So it was convenient.
And it also is more of a cardistry competition, not like a video competition.
Yeah.
I like that aspect.
They pointed that out too, which is a great move because sometimes better camera movements is really going to impact. Like for example, Dobby, his camera work it was insane.
Did you have any saved moves before the competition?
Yes, I had. But a funny story for my round two, one of the moves, this one, hold on. I think I can do it with this time. I think you still remember this one.
Oh yeah.
This one. This one was completely different, even before round one. I think I finished that cut when the results were announced for round one. Like I was trying to finish the move list for this round, and then I just felt like my currently planned material wasn't like fitting. So I tried to find other moves, and I just kept messing around with because I had that opener for a while, this opener, but I used it for something completely different. Luckily, I found I was able to create it in 3 days, I guess.
That's pretty fast, actually.
Yeah, it varies from move to move. Some moves you can finish just like it's done, you know, but some moves take like forever.
As far as round two, did you think that it got easier or more difficult now that you'd already done one, but it's a longer round?
It was still very challenging, honestly, because now in that round, 45 seconds felt like it was a little too long. If 30 seconds was too short, 45 seconds was just like 3 seconds long. So I had to add that double L cut thing. I know. How would I put this? This thing. It's a double L. I had to add this one. This has been around since my 2018 CCC. I'm not sure if you remember it, but it was there, and I just felt like pulling it out of the box because it fit the theme anyway. That was one thing that made round two pretty challenging for me.
So Zach added the wild card at the end of round two. And you also got the second most amount of votes. How did it feel to have that many people voting for you?
First of all, it was very pressuring because honestly, after the results were announced, I was like, I think I'm done with the competition. Like, I've already accepted that I won't be moving on. Plus, I was just trying to look at the bright side that, hey, I get to keep my moves. I get to wait for a bigger competition to release my moves or something like that. But then it was very pressuring because if I had gotten in, there was a part of me that was like already done with the competition. Like I didn't want I didn't want to move on. So maybe if I had gotten through, maybe I'd like gotten like more motivation. But then I didn't feel like continuing anymore. So I'm just glad that Trevor has been the one who got in because I definitely think that he deserved that. Though if I'm gonna be completely honest, I talked with a lot of people about this. Even a lot of Trevor's friends think about this too. Maybe you think about this too, but Trevor's round two was pretty lackluster for me. Like compared to his round one, okay, but he definitely proved himself worthy of that blood card, given his round three.
So, I mean, looking back on the competition, what would you say were some of your biggest takeaways from being in the competition?
This is what I learned specifically from seeing Sprat's work. Like, don't hold back. I mean, hold back enough. Don't hold back too much because if you look at all of Sprat's rounds, they were all like really good. It was just round two was a little better than round one. Round three was a little better than round two. So I think he definitely played the competition the best, like considering all the material he had. Because if you look at Carter, for example, a lot of people were disappointed with his round one. I mean, maybe not disappointed, but we all know that Carter can do these things, right? If you see his round 2 and round 3, they're like really good, right? So if you look at Spratt, all of his rounds were like really well thought of and really well conceptualized. So that's one takeaway I definitely learned from. So definitely don't hold back too much.
And I think what a lot of people don't consider as much is that you're gonna create like a lot of material in that time frame. You know, you don't have to just use save moves that you've already had.
Yeah, definitely. I think aside from that, this is from Spratt and Carter, and even Trevor. Uh, Packet cuts aren't everything. Like as like someone whose main thing is packet cutting. I mean, I've created other non-packet cuts, but then the ones I've created were like kind of accidental. I didn't mean to create them. So ever since after the trials, I've been trying to like focus more on maybe fan moves, Farah moves, and stuff like that, and just some more experimental stuff. And I think that's the next step for me, like going out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, and I think David was one of the best examples of that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know how he did the only spread round?
Yeah.
I guess I'll ask, who do you think will win the trials, if you don't mind saying?
Well, of course, it depends on how they play their rounds, you know. Like if we're talking about their previous material and work, between Carter and Trevor, I think it's definitely very hard to judge. Like they're both super good, like on different levels. Like Trevor makes very innovative concepts that like makes so much sense, and like when you see them, like especially in his round 1, that double triangle thing with the packet in the middle. When I saw that, I was like, why did no one think of doing that yet? Like that's what Trevor's moves make me think. But when I see Carter, I'm like, shoot, that's so smooth, and like it's not just his flow. All his mechanics are very fresh. Like for example, in his round 2, he had that one packet in this grip, and then the V. That was a fresh concept, and then it wasn't just a fresh concept. His flow, like how he plays things to the music, and stuff like that. Everything's well thought of. It's not just flow that Carter has. You know, he has like crazy mechanics too, and that flow just adds to it. Like, so it's definitely going to be really hard to decide. But if I'm just gonna say who I think is gonna win, I think it's Carter.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I mean, it's going to be so hard to decide, and it's not right to judge that before we even see the videos, I don't think. But yeah, just based off previous rounds, I would say Carter as well.
It's okay to speculate anyway. Though if I'm gonna be honest, it's really hard to be in a judging position between like in the whole competition. There have been a lot of upsets, and like I get it. Like it's hard to be a judge. Like they will like go crazy, go angry about it because like a lot of people were salty about, for example, Linus not getting in, or me and Trevor not getting into round 3. Yeah, me and Trevor not getting into round 3. That was quite a time because, wow, the community.
In my opinion, I think that they had too many judges. It kind of messed with the results, I think. If they had maybe like 2 or 3 judges, I think that would work better, like CCC.
Me personally, I think the 7 judges moves was okay because that means you cover a wider spectrum of like preferences, because like in for example in the previous CCC, Jaspa's preferences is like very different to like say the general community's preference, and then there's also the cardistry touch's perspective, and then Patrick's perspective, right? So I think among all of them, Patrick's definitely the one who understands the community's preference the most, I think. Cardistry touch, Dimitri definitely. Ladislas, maybe he has a different perspective. So I think the 7 people there are. Let's like there's Franco, there's Zach, there's Oliver, There's Oliver for packet cuts. There's Zach for like just everything. There's Franco for the flow, the butteriness. There's Lewis and Edgar for the weirdness. So like I think 7 judges was okay personally because that way a lot of perspectives are going to be taken into account in the judging. But there's no right or wrong way to judge.
All right, well, that's pretty much all I've got. Do you have any questions that you've wanted to be asked and didn't get the opportunity to be asked?
I think I've been into this. I've been invited to this. It was a Magic podcast, but then they wanted to do an episode on cardistry, so I went on there, and then that was when I realized that I don't know what to say to laymen when I show them cardistry. It was easy in that interview because the hosts know XCM, plus they're magicians, so they're gonna know of cardistry. So it was relatively easy to talk to them because they already know like maybe some basics in cardistry. One of the things I want to think about now is how I'm going to show cardistry to a layman who maybe just knows magic and has no background on other things aside from magic. That interview really got me thinking. Honestly, I don't have the answer yet. Honestly, some of my friends really appreciate the cards as well, like the design aspect of it. But then every once in a while, someone would be like legitimately impressed by just me flourishing randomly. So I think we can definitely reach a time when maybe we're like at the level of skateboarding where everyone knows what we're doing and like appreciates the difficulty of it or something like that.
I've been thinking about that too. I don't know if we'll ever get there. I hope we do though. That would be really cool. So I guess that's about it. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you Lance for actually doing this interview, making everything possible.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to link his Instagram and his video Arcadia and Fontaine Trials stuff all in the description. You can check it out there. And yeah, see you later.